On February 23rd, 1999, one of the worst fires in Philadelphia took place. One Meridian Plaza, a 38-story high-rise in Philadelphia, on the corners of 15th Street and South Penn Square, across the street from Philadelphia City Hall, set off a 12-alarm fire. This fire did an estimated $100 million worth of damage. The goal of this speech is to explain what the cause of the fire was and how similar fires as this one can be avoided. The fire started at approximately 8:23 p.m. on the 28th floor. The cause of the fire was a pile of rags soaked in linseed oil. Workers who were refurnishing woodworks in the office that day used linseed oil. Now, linseed oil is a highly flammable liquid that can spontaneously combust. Due to it being Saturday, there were only three workers or employees in the building. To make matters worse, the floor was was not fully covered by smoke detectors. By the time the fire alarm was activated, the fire was already widespread. Around 8:27 p.m., a call was put in to 911. The response team arrived to a building that was already overrun. Heavy smoke and flames spewed out the windows. Falling debris also made the situation very hazardous. As firefighters made their way up the as firefighters made their way up, they ran into a major roadblock. The building had lost power once they reached the 11th floor due to fire damage to the electrical system. The backup generator also malfunctioned, leaving the firefighters with a powerless building the whole time. The neighboring building's electrical transformer was also located in One Meridian Plaza and had to be shut down due to water damage. This left the firefighters to work in the dark without any use of elevators. Another major problem was the sprinkler system. The pressure release valves on the standpipes were not properly calibrated to the building's needs when installed. It was only discharging about 60 psi when the fire department had 100 psi capability. 60 psi was clearly not enough for to fight a fire of this magnitude, and it took hours to properly adjust it. The final major problem experienced was that only a handful of floors had an automatic sprinkler system. Around 7 a.m., the building was deemed unsafe to be. It was deemed structurally unsafe and risked of collapsing. All the firefighters were evacuated and left to fight from outside. Eventually, once the fire reached a floor that had an automatic sprinkler system, it started to be contained. That was 19 hours later, and over 300 firefighters, they finally put the fire out. The aftermath was three firefighters lost their lives, and as said before, over $100 million worth of damage was sustained. Although not true with all fires, this one could have been prevented or contained faster than what it really was. Many factors contribute to this disaster. The major three were the failure to the electrical system, inadequate fire department connection, and lack of awareness of hazardous materials. The electrical system was damaged due to fire penetrating through the walls. The heat melted the insulation of the wires and caused a short. Both the primary and auxiliary electrical risers were both located in the same enclosure, which allowed the fire to take out both means of power at once. The generator itself also had its own issues. It was said to be tested weekly, but maintenance records show that it had been almost 4 weeks since the last test. The fire department connection was another factor in the fire. Installation of the installed standpipe pressure reducing valve was set for a PSI that was far too low than what was needed. The firefighters had a difficult time adjusting it to the right PSI. This brings up the issue of proper notification to the fire department of the design, installation, maintenance, and the inspection of the standpipes. If the fire department was previously aware of the specifications of this building, much time would have been saved. Finally, the lack of awareness of hazardous materials is what really caused this fire. Linseed oil is known to be a hazardous material. Like when linseed oil is exposed to air, it mixes with oxygen molecules and causes a chemical reaction that starts heat. Now, linseed oil on a rag, something like a rag, can catch fire without a spark. It can actually catch fire as low with temperatures as low as 120 degrees. So whether this was ignorance or carelessness, this pile of rags should not have been left unattended. So since the fire, many lessons can be learned. Changes in the National Electrical Code were made or were enforced. The NEC now requires electrical services to be widely separated electrically and physically to prevent this same problem happening again. And as regards to the fire department, in 1992, NFPA required that flow tests or 5-year intervals to verify proper installation and adjustment. And also, NFPA 14 made a revision in 1993 that requires an acceptance test to verify proper installation and maintenance of the pressure-reducing valves. So education and awareness of hazardous material, unfortunately, remains to be a problem. Fires of one Meridian Plaza's magnitude in this day and age will always be put under a microscope. It's easy to point the blame of whose fault it was or what the fault was, but it's important that we learn from our mistakes. What we can take from this fire is that the education of hazardous materials is very crucial. We've already made changes when it comes to how we install electrical emergency systems, as well as proper notification to the fire department about how the building water supply is connected. In the future, there will be more fires, we know that, but our goal is to always learn from them and to adapt.